Hello, this is Dale, and Mike Jones is here with us too. Welcome back from Roseburg, Mike.
Hey Dale, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, and as I say, Mike was in Roseburg all day. Look, thousands of Facebook warriors vowed to take Roseburg by storm today and even stop the president's motorcade. But Mike was on assignment in Roseburg all day. Mike, what really happened?
Well, decidedly not that. It was interesting. I was a little bit blown away. I arrived there at probably about 10, and I expected to see more people there, and I expected to have a problem with parking. But I was able to park right there at the airport. Some people that arrived later weren't able to do that. And when I got there, there was probably, 50, 60 people there. But by 11 o'clock, I'd say there's probably 400 people, but nowhere near. I mean, that doesn't even come to 10% of what the projected outcome on this one Facebook page was. So it was a little bit disappointing, to be honest. Although I'll tell you, I'm very, very happy that 10,000 people didn't show up, because when I tried to leave there, it was hard enough to get out anyway, because they had the on-ramps blocked. They wouldn't let anybody take convenient on-ramps. You had to go way out. I had to take 99 out in Roseburg, which kind of meanders out there until it crosses the freeway again a few miles later. And that took some time to do. And naturally, there was a traffic jam, and they had the streets narrowed down to one lane. The 2-lane streets, they had them narrowed down to one lane. They didn't want anybody being able to pull something off and then have a quick escape, I'm assuming.
So, why did Mike go? Because obviously we can grab up things from Facebook or from YouTube. Listen, we could put stuff up behind you, like this lady behind me from Channel 12, who it says here, President
She's not in the room with you?
Expected to travel on Marine One, and she looks like, oh. Okay, so I mean, obviously we can do all that from here, from the comfort of our homes, or this little studio thing that I have where we do the editing. But you expect that we're going to cover the news. We know that you do. So Mike went to tell you what actually happened from inside the crowds.
And I got to tell you, had I not gone, and 10,000 people showed up, I would have been a little bit bummed out, because 10,000 people in this one particular area, it would have been a very tight sardine can. It was because, 300 or 400 people filled up the sidewalks in this area, but 10,000, holy moly. It would have.
I'll tell you also that they had multi-million-dollar video trucks there with huge satellite dishes and all the rest of this. And Mike is there. We did a test from there to see if we could do a live show from there. Well, by now, there wouldn't be anything to see. And we have watched. I've been monitoring while Mike's been doing the easy work. I've been sitting here in my living room with my feet up, monitoring what the local TV stations do. And they're standing there on a live broadcast from nowhere.
I saw the Channel 12 gal, and I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I talked to her when I was there, and there was a bunch of people there. But when she was doing the live shot here, a couple hours ago at 5, she was standing out there with nobody, just her. I thought, wow, why are they making her stay there? She could have just said, yeah, I was there. There's nobody there now. But, this, I don't understand the rationale of being at the place. It all happened right here in this now empty parking lot. Yes, what is that?
Well, you may recall one of the TV stations showed up, just to bring it back a little locally, they showed up at Gold Hill the day after the Gold Hill City Council took a vote about marijuana legislation in the area, and they were pointing at empty chairs. People used to sit in these chairs, and today they're not. What kind of news report? Anyway,
Well,
Mike went because it's important that you know that when there's something that happens in our area, we're going to be there. We're going to tell you the truth and not things staged for the camera, and let's just justify our jobs. We don't have any jobs to justify. There's no one to report to except for that lady that promised she's going to tell everybody how we're funded. I'm still waiting for that.
well, I could use some reimbursement of gas money from today's trip. So hey, listen, if you're watching out there, please arrange for a check to be sent.
So anyway,
Yes.
Mike, tell us with video and with your words, paint us a picture of what it was like to be there among the crowds that were protesting the fact that the president had come.
Well, I've been to a few of these events, and these are, patriotic type people, the Second Amendment people. A lot of these people were open carrying firearms. And I'm not at all intimidated by that. And I don't think anybody was really. This was not a rambunctious crowd. This is just a crowd that, wanted to make themselves heard. And I have a little piece here from Fox News that aired at about 11:07 a.m. Pacific time. And you can get a view of what's happening behind him. But you'll also see file footage from later on in this same video where there's almost nobody there yet, and they obviously shot some of it before anybody arrived.
Oh, that's a little fakey, don't you think?
Well, listen, part of this is logistics, because here's what happens. The news crew gets there. They want to get a flavor from the people that are there, but they're going to go live at a particular time. That video has to go back to New York. Those guys have to edit, chunk it out, make sure that it's ready so they can fire it when they're doing the interview with this guy. And so it naturally has to be something that happened earlier. And this whole thing pretty much bulked up between 10:30 and 11.
Oh, one more thing to note, everybody. You may note that when Mike is doing an interview using our tiny little camera and connected to a cell phone and the rest of that, that when he does that, there are people holding up, there are at least one person usually in each shot, holding up a sign behind the interview. They did it to the big networks as well. I mean, there's always someone there that's kind of media savvy, even if you've got a tiny little, you're going to see. Just watch this.
Yes. Well, and the funny thing about this is that the sun was shining directly in my face, and I'm, and it's at these people's back, and it's I couldn't even see the screen. So I'm guessing that I hope they're on there, Anyway, here's the Fox News piece first.
President Obama to be here in Roseburg within about an hour and meet privately for about 90 minutes with many of the relatives of the victims of last week's shooting. Then he's going to be on to Seattle for a fundraiser. But as you can see, the welcome mat is definitely not rolled out for him here in Roseburg. Hundreds of people are here protesting the president's visit. More than 8,000 people went to a Facebook page titled "Defend Roseburg, Deny Barack Obama," and said that they would show up at today's event. Many in this rural county expressed outrage last week at President Obama talking about gun control within hours of last week's shooting. In fact, it was before we even knew 9 people had been killed.
I think it's a cheap shot, and I think it's a slap in the face for these people down here and their suffering.
Well, I'd like to see him just go home.
Okay. And that's that piece there. So you kind of get a flavor of what was going on there. And then I went around and talked to a number of people there, and we have some shots of the crowd. The first one is kind of early on, and then, as we go, I also took some video of some news personalities that were there, either live or recording their spots. So here's the first section of that. We're going to see this in 3 segments and then comment in between.
All of these things happen in gun-free zones. And, our problem, our issue is people that think they can commit murder. I've actually got a meeting. It's gun-free. They do it because they know there's no chance of anybody stopping them. That's why they go to places where nobody's armed. and we've got to, follow the law. And the law says that concealed handgun carriers can carry in the schools. So, but this is what Obama's doing is absolutely wrong.
So how do you feel about him coming here today?
It's beneath the office of the president. It's beneath. It destroys the dignity of the office. It's just cheap politics. It's really cheap politics. It's disgusting. People were still being rushed to the hospital and stuff, and he was calling for the destruction of American liberty. And we've had that. We've had the right to own guns. The militia acts that preceded the Constitution and the English Bill of Rights in 1689. The people have a right. The fundamental natural law says we have a right to defend ourselves. This is the last place on earth where the people are armed, really. And unlike Britain or Australia, we've got the Second Amendment, so we know that we have that right. Those people have that right too because it's a God-given right, and God doesn't say only Americans have rights. Everybody does. But we know it. It's been written down in our Constitution, and we know that we have that right.
Here to tell Obama to go home. People in this county don't care for him coming here to exploit our local tragedy for his own political agenda. The hype is that he's here to console the victims' families. It's pretty obvious that he's just here to rack up political points. He's exploiting a tragedy. We don't want him here. There'd been somebody armed in that classroom. That guy might have took out one or two people and then he'd have been dead himself. But in spite of the fact that Oregon state law does not prohibit concealed carry on campus, UCC was posted as a gun-free zone, and most law-abiding people will respect that, unfortunately.
I think she's a good symbol for sort of the confusion that is set in for a lot of
newscasters.
Folks. Delighted to have the president here and honored that he comes to speak with the family. He's just really a little bit upset and puzzled if he uses this for specific political gain. And we're hearing that from a lot of folks. That's the issue. They don't mind President Obama being here. They definitely mind him being here if he's going to take this and make further political hay out of it. There are also a lot of folks, 200 or so at this location now, who just don't want him here. Seriously. Tony?
Okay. Yeah, that guy. I've seen him before. I don't know what channel he works for, but I heard him talking back and forth through the IFB to like New York or whatever. And anyway, so that was him doing a piece.
Now, I want our viewers to note that we may not have beautiful Hollywood style lighting, but Mike is in and among the crowds. You may have noticed on two of the newscasters here that they're standing.
I should have brought my Hollywood lighting.
Right, but they're standing apart from everybody around them. Maybe they're going to later go and put a microphone in somebody's face, but they're not among the crowd. They're aloof from everybody else. Mike is in and among everybody and talking to them. There's a difference in style in this. You were hearing Mike talk from among the people who were there. That's the story. What the president says or does on this one particular day, that's not the story. What are the people saying? And Mike's got, I would argue, a much better idea of what the people there were actually saying rather than the little sound bites for New York.
Okay, what did you get out of that? If you watch the Fox News piece, you wouldn't have got the flavor of any of those people that I spoke to at all. Now you can imagine that maybe they are
personality person who's there. Look where I am today. Now I'm in front of a flood. Now I'm in front of a crowd. Now I'm at the White House. where's the feeling for what's happening? Mike is going to tell you more about the mood of the people and what they're actually saying. This is what we do even at a county commissioners meeting. We give most of the attention to the people who come to the podium and say things, or we go out and we do the interview with the guys from county fire. See, I'm not overly impressed by the fact that the president flies in. He's the president, okay, but he flies in on a helicopter. Woo, let's look excited. No, this is not the point. We're the story. You're the authorities. And so we're going to you to get good ideas or wacky ideas, but you are the story, and that's what we carry. Mike?
By George. Okay.
So what was the attitude of the people? You mentioned already they weren't like hopping angry or something, and there was some open carry and all. But they weren't jubilant, obviously. But
no.
What kind of mood what did you feel while you were there?
These were laid back people. You know, you didn't get nobody there that I saw was angry. They weren't chanting anything. They were just holding their signs and hoping that, some point would get across by that. I tend to think that, the agitators probably get more press, and they probably get more actual result from their protests because, the squeaky wheel and all that sort of thing. But no, these people were not angry. Most of them were very well-spoken. And, they're just mad that some jerk goes into a classroom and starts shooting up people, and there's no defense for those people until the cops come, and who knows when that's going to be. If let's say the guy comes there and goes into a room where he could shoot without being heard from the outside, he could literally kill everybody in that room and walk out the door and go into the next room, and I think, I identify with people's anger about that. But you know what? I mean, these people are not, this is a melancholy anger. These people they're just disappointed that their public officials apparently don't understand that a gun-free zone is a killing zone. And, that's sort of the flavor of the crowd, although, there's other stuff happening here. And let's take a look at some of that right now.
The people here in Oregon don't want the president here because of his agenda, and he refuses to see that, and coming for his own reasons. So everyone band together to come to support for him. So did you come here from somewhere else, or are you from Roseburg? No, from Skagit Valley, Washington. Oh, wow. So did you come down for this? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I left at 1:30 this morning. Oh, well, that's impressive. After doing homework for kids. Gun-free zones are nothing but make victims. They're targets, and they victimize people. Until the government stops trying to grab the guns and pointing the finger at the guns, and they start actually attacking the mental health issue and maybe stiffening penalties on gun crimes or violent crimes, nothing's ever going to change. Good guy with a gun takes care of a bad guy with a gun. This president stands for most things this community does not stand for, and vice versa. Had he come here silently, quietly, as best he could, to meet with the families, if that was the objective, that would have been a good thing. But clearly that's not the way this president operates. Demonstrated over 7 years. And I think the community in their reaction to his comments immediately after the event, during the event, were very appropriate. This community stood up strong and straight. You know what? That's not right. Of course it's not. And we're hearing today and yesterday on the news that he's talking about possible executive actions to further his gun control agenda. And he has to look at the UK and Australia and just drool and say, wow, If only America could be that way. Well, America's not going to be that way. Not going to be that way ever. So good luck. Nick there.
This is what do you call it, tag? Can't think of it.
Dog tag?
Dog tag, yes. I got it a long time ago, and I wear it all the time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mike, did you have to search around for people that were against the president's appearance, or would you have even be able to find someone that was positive about his appearance?
Yeah, no, I didn't run into anybody there that was for it. This was pretty much a crowd of people that was against the visit. They envision this as being political only, and so yeah, I mean that was the flavor of the crowd. They were not in favor of him being there. So yeah, I mean you did have some people like that man that was just on there said, had he come here quietly, had there been no fanfare about it, and listen, we all know that the president has snuck into Baghdad before without anybody knowing, and so this type of thing can be done in clandestine fashion without making a big stink about it. He could have gone, seen the people, but this was definitely more a show of it, and you'll see some of that a little bit later in the broadcast.
Well, one of the things that I noticed on watching the nightly newscast was that it looked as if there was a pool reporter with a single camera or two when the president walked out of the hospital with our governor, governor of the state of Oregon. So it's not possible for Mike to have gone to that location with a cell phone camera and gotten additional footage of that. So actually there was no alternative other than to not be this impressed with the president showing up and going among the crowds.
That's such a dirty trick, the freeze frame, because
I didn't do that.
Listen,
they chose that. Not me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's their publicity photo.
Yeah, because wow. Well, yeah, okay. I wonder what kind of signal they're trying to send there. But no, I have had the experience of going through pieces of video looking for a good thumbnail, and you're like,
yeah.
And 5 minutes later, oh, there's one that's acceptable.
Oh, we could do this all the time. This is something we don't talk about, and the story's not really just about us, but as long as we're talking about that, every day of the week that we videotape something with the commissioners, we could get them anytime we want. But I don't like that kind of thing. It's fakey. It's wrong. It's funny. But we're not going to be putting it out there for you. But this is the photo.
There's an occasional freeze frame of them in a, he just goes for the mildly amusing and not the, guffaw hilarious.
Well, but you've got somebody like Cheryl Walker that's like this all the time. I mean, there's no choice. And remember the lady that had come up to talk about marijuana at the city council meeting, and she was constantly flipping her hair and looking seductive. I couldn't find a non-seductive pose. I mean, she just looked like that all the time until she started talking. And then you go, oh, man. Okay, all right, that's another story. So, so Mike.
Well, what's funny, and this is going a little bit afield, but this guy, Kevin G, that we know, he will occasionally post a video, which is typically the audio of Cheryl Walker on KCMX, and the photo that he uses looks like it. Now you remember the Time Machine with the original Time Machine movie, and they had it was the Eloy, and was it Morlocks or something?
Morlocks,
the Morlocks down the ground. Cheryl Walker looks like a Morlock in this picture.
Oh,
yeah, it's really bad.
That was the original George Powell program, and it was all centered in England and the rest of it. One other thing we need to tell you, and this is not funny, is that today in Arizona and in Texas, there were 2 more college-related shootings.
Yeah,
all in one day.
Yeah, what is that about? What is going on with that? And luckily, there was only like a one killed, I think, in the. I'm going to get this wrong.
That's right. No,
I don't know enough
right.
about
As
it.
far as we know so far, yes.
Yeah, the one in Arizona. Well, anyway, it was low casualty, thankfully, and who knows why that is? Maybe we'll hear, some stories, and maybe somebody interceded with a gun, or maybe in the wake of this thing, people are taking Dr. Carson's advice and making a run on these, guys who come in with a gun.
Well, I also imagined that what happened was that there's probably a lot more single shootings near a college campus, a lot more than we know, and that the news media are all hyped up about, college shooting. Well, let's report that. Where really.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Okay, one more piece from the protest there, and after that, we will have a sequence of helicopter landing and the president's statement while he was there.
So geeky! Wow.
Yes.
I'm here, and we're here. Don't put words in our mouth, but I defend our rights to bear arms and prevent Obama from using this as a political tool. That shouldn't be used as a political tool. And I'm tired of hearing he's just here to give sympathy. He didn't give sympathy to the nice lady's parents who. The parents of the nice lady who was killed in San Francisco. He picks people that advance his causes and tragedies that advance his causes. And he's very cynical and, in my opinion, very sick. And we're here to protest him because we're tired, just tired of it. If I had to drive 100 miles or 200 miles or 300 miles, I'd be here today.
Mike.
To tell him that it's just time to go home. It's time to quit. It's time to shut down and put an American in the office. How's that for a bad attitude?
That's why I'm here. I'm a CTA. Thursday is the deadline for filing tax returns. I have clients that stay till 1 a.m. working, so I can be here today to say this is important. We need to bear arms. We're a free country, and I want it to be that way. I always thought the country would be better for my kids, better America than I grew up in. It's not.
There's definitely people in our community that need help, and that there's people that are rising up, and there's veterans that they need priority of service. They need priority care. I think it just brings mental illness to the forefront. Well, post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress disorder is a very unique illness. It's based upon the individual. Every person has their own way of coping with it, and it's a heightened awareness of your surroundings. You can sense danger from miles away sometimes, and I think it's a connectivity. It's a gift from God in some people. And, God bless the veterans that haven't had the opportunity to really delve into the depths that I've gone. I've gone deep into depression, and the only voice that was there at the end was Jesus Christ.
I got to New York, I got to 28,000 people went to a Facebook page entitled Defend Roseburg, Deny Barack Obama, and said they didn't show up at today's event. Many in this world, Tony, expressed outrage at President Obama talking about gun control within hours of last week's shooting.
Now, you probably recognized, a lot of you did, the first guy that Mike talked to there. That's Pat Kelly. Mm-hmm. He's a lawyer in our area here in Grants Pass who drove up there to say his opinion.
Okay, well, let's see here. I have the one piece also with the landing, and this is interesting because I was able to find video of him leaving. But firstly, the president's plane is too big to land at the Roseburg Airport, Air Force One. There's no way it could have happened, so he had to land at Eugene Airport. So then from Eugene, there was 2 different copies of Marine One that flew out of there to Roseburg. It's about a 20-minute flight. And so what you'll see in the first part of this is some guy in Eugene gave us video of them leaving Eugene, and also, in addition to the 2 Marine One choppers, are 3 Osprey aircraft. And those things are very interesting to see if you ever get the opportunity. So in any event, here is...
Well, this lady over my shoulder is going to be super impressed by that, because look how impressed she is by Marine One. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Now, partway through this, and I'll point it out as it's coming, you'll see a piece of video that we got from the Oregonian that shows snipers on the roof at Roseburg's airport. So here we go.
Well, there he goes. On his way to Roseburg, people. Never mind, people, he's got a show of force. Holy cow.
There's the snipers on the roof there. And how is that helicopter flying? Look, the rotor's barely moving.
that looks like a Coast Guard helicopter.
Yeah, it is.
You guys wrapping everyone move down.
Here come the Ospreys.
I didn't know that Roseburg was close to the coast.
Yeah, it isn't really.
Low-key entrance.
Yeah, really. 3 Osprey aircraft. What is on those things, you know?
Quick reaction force?
I guess. What are they going to do? Take on the crowd here or something? Is that what that is? Maybe there's a bunch of Marines in those things.
Yeah. Well, if anything had happened, why, boy, they just canceled the Second Amendment. All right, don't get excited, but I mean, good gosh, that'd be awful. Oh, okay, it's landing in the bushes.
And this is the president's motorcade leaving the airport area and going wherever he's going to visit with the families.
Imagine that some people thought they were going to stop the motorcade. What a fantasy.
Yeah.
There you go.
And obviously, there was some Obama supporters that were given the location where the motorcade would come out, because there is literally no one there protesting.
Here's the governor.
And that tall guy, I think, is the president.
I'm going to be very brief here. I just want to, first of all, say thank you to Mayor Rich. I want to thank Governor Brown. Most importantly, I want to thank the entire community and the entire state of Oregon for coming together at this terrible time to support the families. I just had a chance to talk to them. Obviously, in moments like these, words aren't going to bring the loved ones back. But the one thing that they shared is how much they appreciate the entire UCC community coming together, how much they appreciate all their neighbors, all their friends, and people all across the country who offered to help, sent their thoughts and their prayers. What I just told the mayor is that if there's anything that we can do at the federal level to help the community heal from this loss,
send money.
Obviously, we're going to be there. And I know that flying out here with some of the members of the Oregon delegation, they feel the same way. And the governor obviously has been paying a lot of attention to how we can be most helpful to the families. So there are going to be, I think, moments as we go forward where we're going to have to come together and figure out how do we stop things like this from happening. And I've got some very strong feelings about this because when you talk to these families, you're reminded that this could be happening to your child, or your mom, or your dad, or your relative, or your friend. And so, we're going to have to come together as a country to see how we can prevent these issues from taking place. But today, it's about the families, their grief, and the love we feel for them. They surely do appreciate all the support that they've received. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, now, Mike, why didn't you shout out a question to him?
I was starstruck. I couldn't believe
I'm here with my cell phone, and I've got a question to ask you, Mr. President.
Yes.
No, it's impressive that you were there. I said we actually did a test from there for live footage and etc. But I have to admit that with our budget, which is nothing, that was even hard to see what was in the camera and all the rest of that. But still, it's impressive that Mike was there. Like I said, you expect that we're going to cover the news, and we do. Mike?
We probably could have done that easily once everybody left, because whenever you concentrate that many people in one area, all the cell sites are just jammed, and you don't have as much data throughput as you would if there's nobody there.
Data throughput, yes. Geeks on parade once again, right?
Well, that's what it is.
That's the term. That's right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right.
So, what do you think is the bottom line on this? First of all, I was impressed by the fact that so many people were going to be there, like at the mineral withdrawal gathering. We're definitely going to be there with you, Dale and Mike. We're going to be there, buddy. And then some of them were actually there and said nothing. So, and then a few hundred. It's great to have a few hundred. That's great. That's not what they said, but okay, that's great. Give us a bottom line on this, Mike. What actually happened that we're not seeing everywhere else?
Well, okay, I'm going to shock everybody and tell you that people say things on Facebook that they don't actually mean. Or, at the time they go, yeah, I'm going to that place and I'm going to do such and such. And that's the end of it.
We're going to stop the motorcade. This one is the one that just gets me. Wow.
I didn't see that one. I didn't see that one. But people have big intentions, and there's a lot of these Facebook memes that show somebody with huge huevos when they're on Facebook. And then, of course, in person, they're,
shriveled up little guys.
Somewhat less impressive. And that's basically what happened here. I'd say it was about 5% of what the promise was.
All right. So what's the positive side of all that? Is there
positive side? Well, I think it's positive that some people are showing up, and I think that there was
some of them from pretty far.
Yeah. You know what? And we saw this the other day when the one guy came down from, didn't he come down from Portland or Washington or something like that?
To be there in front of Alan Bates' office to say, "Hey, what do you think you're doing here with this? With these closing off all of these ability to use our natural resources? This is ability to use."
And there was maybe. Right. Yes. And there was about 7 or 8 other people that were there. And, it's too bad that you can't take all these people that are dedicated to the same cause and concentrate them in one area to get, one of these events off. But, maybe
we could get people to drink some of that concentrate instead of drinking the Kool-Aid. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Sure. Yes, that's a good idea. Yes, fantastic. I mean, they say that back during the revolution, it was a very, very small number of people that were actually dedicated to the cause, and some people were, they just didn't want to have anything to do with any controversy, and some were very, very happy with the British. And they didn't want any controversy either. So a very small minority drugged these people to freedom. So I think this is probably about par. The type of reaction that we're getting. It would be nice to see that more people are doing this. I think that there was a lot of people following this online, though, and I mean, that's, you cannot discount online participation, although it's not the same thing as showing up. There is a level of interest there, and I mean, we live a lot of our lives online as it is right now, and
well, some of us do, yes.
So I think that this was followed by a lot of people.
Well, okay, all we can do is give you information, and we can give you proof of what we're saying. Mm-hmm. I was at an Oath Keepers meeting last night, and I said, here's what happened in that courtroom with Mark Bartholomew, the lawyer for the city, and what he said. And Roy Lindsay was there. That's not what he said. That's not what happened. But it's on tape. Yeah, well, it's not what happened. Really, we got to do a show just about people who are deniers.
I think we have to do part of a show just about this incident that you're talking about, because, Mr. Lindsay, the whole thing, if you go to Dale Matthews on YouTube, there is, I believe that the entire court
proceeding
situation, the whole court proceeding in 2 segments is there, and you can see everything that was said. And I believe that, do you remember which of those 2 has this sequence in it where Mark Bartholomew? It's the second one. So I'm even saving you people some time. So, some people will go, well, where exactly is it in the video? Because, I don't have time to listen to the whole thing.
I only want to see one quote. And so
yes,
only post that, because that's what I'm asking.
I think you're lying. And so you need to tell me exactly where the evidence is. And then, of course, you'll show it to them and they'll go, oh, so.
What we've done is I've done a letter to the editor with the exact quote. The Courier didn't like it, not at all. I've spoken at meetings with the exact quote. I don't think the commissioners liked it very much either, and I know the city council didn't. And so now it's getting down to the point where even if you have footage, you've got someone that says, that's not what happened. How do you come to that conclusion?
You know what?
I don't like it. Whoa.
If you're gonna be a politician in this community, and you're going to deny what's on video, you're just not very politically savvy, because at some point that's going to be, riding around on your back, haunting you. That's stupid. And with the
internet, it will haunt you forever.
Listen, before you try to rebut Dale in some meeting somewhere where you think that he's lying, why don't you just wait and see if there's video out there before you open your big fat mouth and stick your foot in there? It's just dumb.
I have to agree with you. I'm forced to agree with you. Yes, it's dumb. But we have so much fun with it. We'll love playing this back. And you put this up. This is what he said. You put this up. This is what he said the day before. Which is the lie, Mr. Hick? Neither of them.
Yes.
Right. I was on Bill Moyer. No, I wasn't.
He was on Bill Maher. He was on Bill Moyer and Bill Meyer's show.
I was on Bill Meyer's show on KMED this morning, and he was so
Dale's famous.
Yes, so interested in the fact that that Keith Heck gave a false report to the Courier. He said, well, Wally Hicks was not involved in the writing of these fire standards at all. Wait a minute. My source is Wally Hicks. How can you say that? And I talked with the guy from the newspaper and said, why would you print that without at least talking to me? Or, I don't know, how about talking to Wally? Well, he can't talk to Wally now because Keith Heck has given instructions to Wally that they can only talk with Keith. And his version is the only accepted truth in county government.
Yeah, it's funny. I got an email from Tim. You know who you are.
Yeah.
And last night about this situation, and I said last night, you know, where is the Wally Hicks? This is not an editing session, Wally Hicks.
Yes.
And he said that I had just had that thought in that exact syntax, like a minute before that when you said that. And you know, I mean, this is what has to be on people's minds now that they have access constantly to what's going on inside county government. And then you hear people say something and you go, well, that doesn't quite meet with my recollection.
Not quite. Now, don't forget the official stand of the Daily Courier is, just a warning to everybody, like we gave you the warning from Cheryl Walker that it's a tragedy to look at our show. The official stand of the Daily Courier is it's a waste of time for you to watch our videos. Half of our videos are us blathering on, and the other half of the videos are the commissioners blathering on. So when we say this is what they said, and then you go and you look at it, of course, there are always those people that say, I never watch your show and I hate it. Yes. I love that quote. I love it. Okay, so we're going to have more stuff from the imperial attitude in our county government for you tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we'll have Bree again from Bree's Botanicals. She's talking about the marijuana laws in Ashland and in Gold Hill. And the first time we let Bree pretty much say what she said, and we had a couple questions. I told her already, I said, this time when you come on, Bree, we're going to have some tougher questions for you. And so, and then on Monday, we'll probably then talk about Food and Friends and what's happened with them. That's a Meals on Wheels program. What's going on with that? And every Monday, I'm on KMED at 6:35 in the morning. It's a regular session, not a caller. And I'll try to tell everybody there, they're increasingly interested, especially in the fire standards and this goofy stuff that's going on with people denying that they said something when we've got the tape of them saying it. I told Mike just earlier today, I said, you know, if we just concentrate on just that one thing, here's the tape and you can look at it. And then here's the person denying that what you're looking at is true. I never said that. Well,
that's just dumb. You know what I think? I think that they count on the fact that even though the video is out there, that not that many people have seen it. And so the majority of, you know, their own Kool-Aid drinking constituents are still going to vote for them despite the video being out there.
Now, I've asked you especially to please tell your neighbors what you've seen, and you're doing it. We can tell that you're doing it. The thing that you click on saying, I like this, has gone way up. It's about double where it was before, sometimes triple. And there's a lot more people watching our shows. We just had a show a couple of days ago that overnight had almost 800 views. Now, you know, in the overall scheme of the world, that's not very much. But for us, that's a huge deal in this area.
But in this county...
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
So
in this county, it's weird how it is. It's a scale thing. But in this county here, 800 views overnight, that's viral.
Yeah,
that is viral.
In our area, it definitely is. And we have a subscriber list. I mentioned this before, but we have a subscriber list of 200, apparently, you know, people who want to know what's happening on an everyday basis. They get every video that we make. You can subscribe if you want. There's no cost. You know, it's not like the Courier, 75 cents a pay per newspaper, and there's nothing in there.
Ours is $1.50, and it's worth every cent.
It's all free. And where do you get your funding? The Bank of Mike and the Bank of Dale, right? So, but we're happy to share that with you. And I also want you to know that with the 2 new reporters that replaced Jim Moore at the Courier, I call them on a regular basis and I say, you don't need to listen to what we say. Here's where you can go look and see what the commissioners said in their own words, and the city council. So you just go look at this. We've recorded it. You can get your good quotes from there.
Yeah. The problem is that it's a worldview problem.
Yeah.
And at the Courier or at any mainstream media news site, you're going to get this, go along to get along with whatever the standard fare is. And, we need something different than that. And that I think you would get as, a majority of the people we talk to, they think, they clearly believe that something is wrong. These commissioners don't represent us properly, and it's time for new blood.
It's bad enough if they've got a different opinion from you. I don't really approve, but I expect that. It's really bad when they say, no, the video that you just looked at, that's a lie. That video is lying to you. What are you saying? Really? And so if you want to believe, or your neighbor wants to believe, what the Courier says is a waste of time to watch these videos. Or what Walker says is, don't watch these videos. I am warning you not to watch these videos. Then you're buying into that whole thing of, you must trust your politicians. You must trust your politicians. Is there anybody, with the exception of a couple of people, like Rika Brown, that would say such a thing? That's crazy. That's crazy.